Well, thank you once again for joining us. Very much appreciated. We've got a packed program here today. I want to touch on quite a few subject matters today. One of the things obviously I'm going to look at is the Bitcoin chart, exactly what's happening with Bitcoin in the short and the medium term. I'm also going to look at the targets that I've got. I've shown you in the last video what my targets were. They've already been met, so we're going to give you the fresh targets. I'm also going to have a look at Ethereum, exactly what's happening now and where we're at with this pump that we're having after having met the all-time high. I'm also going to have a look at the tip that I gave in the last video for NEO and see exactly where we're at. I said to you in that video, if you haven't watched it, then I'll leave it in the top right hand corner. I said that this asset is following Cardano and that we're going to be seeing a doubling and a trebling very, very shortly in the next 3 to 4 weeks. So we'll touch on that and have a look at exactly where we're at with that. And also, just a quick word before we start about what's been happening in the news. Now, a lot of people are talking about Elon Musk and a lot of meetings that are taking place in terms of the institutions and how they're getting into the market and what have you. Please don't follow the news. That's for dumb investors who will lose their money. The charts will tell you everything that you need to know to make the right decisions. There is a saying in the investment community that show me the charts and I'll tell you the news. So what I would always say is that the charts will always tell you what the news are out there, because everything out there is reflected in how the charts behave. And it's a very dumb thing to do, to follow the news. I've been in investments now for nearly 40 years. And all I can say is that with my experience is that you get hype all the time in rising markets. Everybody is basically clamoring to get on the train of the newest and latest hot stock. And whenever the markets are rising, everybody's trying to get on board. But unfortunately, it's very easy to get on board, but nobody really knows when to get off the train. So what happens is that they eventually all fall off the cliff at the end of the bull market that they're in. So the problem with hype is that it disturbs the emotions. And it leads to overwhelming urge to do something in the market, because there is the greed element that allows us to make the very bad decisions due to the emotions that we get. I can only tell you what I'm doing in the current market, and that is I'm keeping totally away from the news, the hype that's around there. I never ever join a Telegram channel, because that is a recipe for disaster, because that's where you get a lot of people who say a lot of things that they don't understand, and they will influence you to do something that you will regret later on. So the biggest lesson that I've learned in investing, and I'm still learning it, because even myself who understands these things, I sometimes get sucked into the emotions of it. So I'm still learning this lesson, but the biggest lesson is that you make more money by doing nothing and leaving the market totally alone than constantly meddling, trying to get extra units to make more money, but you end up with less units and less money and a less growth in your asset. I can't give you financial advice, of course, but all I can say is that please be aware. I've shown you the long-term chart. There is really very little that you really need to do to make the huge amounts of money that we all want to make. It's very simple. This market is on an upward trajectory towards this target here. And when we get here, we use our exit indicators of the 111 and the 350 daily moving average to time the market at the top here before it tops off and then goes into this bear market. So like I've said many, many times in my previous videos, there's only 2 decisions you need to make. You do not need to make any decisions here. Once you're invested, all you need to do is top up if you've got more money coming in, because we're still on our way to much, much higher levels towards our 300,000 target. And if you want to top up, still a great time to buy. However, the best thing you can do is, once you've got off the train, preserve your money, preserve your cash, because I'm telling you, you will be sucked back into the market if you're not careful, if you're not aware. And the only other decision you really need to make is maybe 6 months, 9 months, 12 months after the market tops out, when the market comes down to this bear market target level of around the 42,000, that's when to buy back. And I would honestly say my experience with this Bitcoin market is to leave it well alone. Once you've invested, do it for the long term. If you want to have a trading portfolio, but that is when you are in this part of the market after the topping off. So this bit you just leave alone because the market's going to go on a downward trajectory and it's going to catch you out. The accumulation phase is this part here. That's when you want to just invest as much as you can, and this is this part here. And then when we get onto this trajectory, which is going to be over here, there, that's when you just leave the market alone. And we're in the middle of that at the moment. So I would say, if you want to make the most amount of money, the best thing you can do is actually leave the market totally well alone. So that's my 2 pennies worth. Onto the Bitcoin chart. I said in the last video that we're forming this bull flag here, and that once we break out of this, we should go off to the races. The only thing will be to break the all-time previous high, which is around the 42,000 mark here. Obviously, we did that around here, and look what's happened since then. And I gave you the targets on my pivot. As I was making the video, we were coming right up to our target here, the first target, the R1. And I mentioned that in the last 8 out of the last 9 months, we have always met the R1 line. So that was a very easy target to meet. And while I was doing the video, it was coming up to that point here. And we were over here, there, this candle. So we've met the 40,000 target, and I said with a very high degree of probability we're going to meet the R2 line because this is where the trajectory was going. And we just met the R2 line at the 48,000 level. So now the question is, are we going to meet the R3 line, which is currently at the 55,000? And I mentioned that in the last video, saying that obviously it's a very challenging target, but considering now, we always have to respond to what the market's doing. Always be fluid and flexible in your thinking with Bitcoin. That will actually allow you to have a very healthy attitude towards Bitcoin. And currently, with the way this trajectory is going, I think that the R3 line will be more than likely met before the end of February. So we are actually going to 55,000. And I wouldn't be surprised if we actually meet the R4 line. Now, in the past, in the 8-9 months, if you look here, this is the previous month. The highest we got was the R2 line. We didn't quite meet the R3. Then in December, we only came up to the R2 line here, there. Then in November, we met all the way up and just got to the R3 line there. In October, we came all the way up to just under the R3 line. So currently, in this very powerful bull market, we haven't yet hit the R4 line. So the highest probability is that the R3 line is the maximum we're going to be achieving at the end of this month. So my target for the end of February is actually 55,000. You can see quite clearly that when we do come up to these targets, we get a little bit of a pullback. So these lines are very important. So if you look here, this is acting as a resistance line there. Although we went right up here and came back as resistance over here. Same over here at the R2 line, there's a lot of resistance at the R2 line. So these pivots are very, very important. And here in December, the pivots acted as a support as well as a resistance on the R1 and the R2 line. And here again on the P line, we've got a lot of support here. So these pivots are extremely important, and they are very, very good at predicting the actual targets. Don't get affected by the news. Just look at the charts, and the charts are telling you all the things that you really need to know. All the information is here. We've come up to the R2 line. We're on the 10th of February, so there is plenty of room to go up to the R3, and I have a 5 to 10% sneaky feeling that we might, for this month, get to the R4 line, simply because we've had a good period of consolidation, and we may get a very big pump in February towards the R4 line. So let's wait and see, but those are my targets. Initially 48,000 has been met. The next target is 55k, and then a challenging target is the 61,000 mark. Before I leave the Bitcoin, I just wanted to actually show you the pattern that was developing, and I showed you this pattern in the last video for a different asset called NEO, which I'll talk about a little bit later in the video. And this is the pattern I was trying to tell you. It's one of the most powerful patterns if ever you want to trade in any asset, and that is you get the neckline of the pattern, and then what you get is what was developing here was a cup and handle pattern for Bitcoin. And as soon as this pattern develops, you'll find that in 80% of the cases we get a run up back to the neckline, which is here, which was around the 41,000 mark. And once it breaks, that is when we get a big pump to the upside. And the way to measure that is you take the measurement from the bottom here, the bottom of the cup, you take it to the neckline. That gives you the percentage increase you're more than likely to get as the next target up here. So here, as you can see with Bitcoin, we got a 43.98% difference between the bottom of the cup to the neckline here. So if we put 43% up here, we will get a target price in the next few weeks. So 43% takes it all the way up to the 59,000 mark. And as we've seen with the pivots, the R4 line was at the $61,000 level. So we won't be too far away from there. And that's the reason why I say there is a very good chance that in the month of February, we're going to meet the 61,000 mark. But it is a challenging target, but let's see where we get to. But certainly this cup and handle is directing us to a target of around about the 61,000 mark. If you want to support the channel, then please click on any of my videos, and then below the videos you'll find a box called Show More, which gives you a description box, and in that description box is the affiliate link with Etoro that I have. So I partner up with Etoro because that's the main exchange I use for all my investments. These are the reasons why I tend to use Etoro. It's a very simple exchange to use in terms of depositing money and withdrawing the money, as well as trading if that's what you want to do, as well as for long-term investing, which is what I tend to do. So if you want to support the channel, please click on the partnership link, and then what you'll do is you'll get this box here, and then you can basically put your username, email and password and just fill in the form there. If you like any of my videos and you find value in them, then please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. On to Ethereum. As you can see, this is the chart I've been showing you for many, many months now, and I've had this target for over a year. And it's interesting actually, when I first gave this target out many, many months ago on the on my videos here, I got quite a few strange comments saying that that just seems very, very high and it seems too high to be true. But I've stuck to my guns on this, and it's just very interesting that having watched a lot of YouTube channels, many channels are now using a very similar target. Some have even said it might go to 40 and 50,000. So this target, which seemed extremely high only 6 months ago, is now seeming very, very realistic going forward, having seen what's been happening here in the charts. I've been saying in the last few videos that it should double from its all-time previous high at $1,424 here. So we're currently up to $1,800, and we're coming into this parabolic phase of the market, leading us towards this target in the next 5 or 6 or 7 months, whenever the market tops out. But certainly we're on our way. There is nothing anybody needs to do. If you're fully invested, you just sit it out. That's the best way to make the most amount of money. You ride the train all the way up until we get to near the top where we just have to get out. Okay, if we compare the Ethereum to the Bitcoin chart, and I've been showing you this particular chart for many months now. These are my targets, 0.0715 and my ambitious target of 0.13 by the end of this bull market. Now, as you can see from here, if I just zoom in on this part here, we can see quite clearly that I was saying to everybody, this is where I was accumulating because we were forming this channel. We were coming to the bottom of this particular chart pattern, and that this would be the best time to accumulate with Ethereum. And if you've already got them, keep them, obviously. And we were going to have this rise towards this first target that we had of 0.03, and at the time here it was at 0.02, if people remember. If you haven't seen those videos, then go back and see them. They've got Ethereum in the title, so you'll know exactly what I was talking about. So what we've done is we've obviously had a run up to these levels. We've broken our first target, which was 0.03. We met our second target, 0.39. We've now got our third target of 0.05. So what's happened is that in the last few weeks, we've had a massive run up here. We're now taking a little breather here. We're mustering up the strength to go like this. So you're going to see in the next few weeks, when Ethereum starts to go towards the $2,500–3,000 mark, it's going to outperform Bitcoin and get to this level here. And that will be our next target. Once we've met this target here at the 0.05, and that's really because if you look left, you'll see that this 0.05 was a very strong support over here, a lot of resistance over here, and a lot of resistance and support over here. So this 0.05 is quite significant. So more than likely, we're going to take a little breather at the 0.05 level, just like we've taken a breather here at the 0.03, because these are significant levels. If you look left, you'll see that this 0.039, 0.04 if you want to, is a significant level here. Look, support, support, resistance, resistance and support. So these lines are very, very important. They play a very significant part in looking out for the targets. And the next target, like I say, after we pass the 0.05 is going to be the 0.0715. I still think that this ambitious target of 0.13 will be met with a high degree of probability. So at least it's something to aim for. Now, in my last video, I gave you a tip. I don't normally always give these tips, but I was just looking at this particular chart for NEO, and I compared it to the Cardano chart, and I said that there's a very obvious cup and handle pattern developing, and that once the market comes back up to the cup level here with a daily or the weekly candle, we're going to be going to the races. Well, we've just broken out this week, and I gave you this tip when the price was around $24. So if you look at the last video, if you haven't watched it, go and watch the video, and you'll see that I was giving you a very strong hint. Obviously, I can't give you financial advice. That's why I can't say to you, please go and buy. But I certainly opened a position in this. The cup and handle is one of the most powerful chart patterns that you can trade. Now, I don't normally do trading, as you know, and I've mentioned this many, many times. But when you see this chart pattern developing, you've just got to jump on board, because for me, I'm going to take it all the way up to the first target, which is the 209. However, to actually work out the first target from this cup and handle chart pattern, just like with the Bitcoin, you have to take the measurement from the bottom here, which is there, to the neckline, and that gives you a target price of an increase in the price from the breakout of 533%. I know this sounds crazy prices, but we are in the crypto space, and this is with a very high degree of probability going to happen. So if you take 533% from the neckline, that is your actual realistic target. So you go to the neckline, you take it to 533, around there, and my target is 155. This is what the target is telling us. that this NEO is on its way to 155. Now, I did say that in the last video that we're going to be doubling and tripling in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and I still hold to that. So this is the price target for me. Around about, it's broken at the 24 level, so more than likely it's going to go to around about the 60 to 70 mark very, very shortly within this month. So I am expecting it to hit about 60 around these levels here in the next few weeks. So we've come up to now 34. Only 3 days ago this was 24 when I gave you this tip. Now we're up to 34, and we have been as high as I think 36, 37 around this level. And it's just in the next few days you're going to see a very big pump, because we've just left this neckline, and usually you do get a pump in the following few days which take it closer towards this first target. So please keep your eye on that. If you jumped on board here, congratulations to you, well done. If you're thinking of trying to get out and making the quick buck, well, that's up to yourself. It's obviously everybody has their own decision to make, but certainly I'll be keeping it until we top out at the market. So I'm going to just hold this now until Bitcoin tops out, and then I'll take my money from this one as well. But this is an incredibly powerful chart pattern to trade. If you want me to bring to your attention chart patterns like this, because I'm always looking for these, not just in the crypto space, but in many other assets as well. I tend to look at technology stocks in the American market and the London stock markets. If you want to leave any comments and suggestions below that this is the kind of thing that you want, then I'll try and give you one new stock every video if I can. If I find something really, really juicy and very profitable, then I'll be very happy to actually show you the charts for that, because that's what I normally do with these. Because once the Bitcoin chart has topped out, I will be looking for alternative stocks to invest in. I'll be then looking at the chart patterns developing in those assets and bring them to your attention in these videos that I have. If you found value in this video, then please do remember to like and subscribe and to turn on the notification bell. I'm always very happy to receive comments, questions and suggestions in the comments below. And if you watched any of my videos in the past, you'll realize that I do try and actually answer all of the queries that you have. And especially now, if you want to leave any suggestions and comments and questions in the comments below, I really appreciate the comments and the questions and the suggestions that you normally give in the comments section. And I do that by answering virtually every single one. If I've missed any, then I apologize for that. But my intention is always to answer all the comments and to bring to your attention what my thoughts are. It's never financial advice. I'm just giving you my thoughts, my opinions, based on my experience in the investment markets over the last 40 years. Always remember, nobody can ever give you the perfect information, because the investment world is riddled with uncertainty. So the only certainty you have with the investment world is the uncertainty. No one knows the future, so always bear that in mind. So whenever you make a decision, please do your wider research before making any big decisions. So until the next time, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.